Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of That's My Personal Business. I am so excited to have you here today. Obviously, yesterday we had a Halloween episode, and so you're listening to this on a Tuesday or whenever you're listening, whatever. I don't know when you guys listen to this podcast, but welcome back. If you've been here for a minute, I'm happy to have you here. I'm Strader, and I'm your host. We are talking about something that I'm so excited about today. We are talking about Taylor Swift and why she is your brand blueprint. And whether you love her or hate her, that is because her brand has done its job. So I highly recommend listening, whether you love her or hate her, because you are going to have a lot to learn. Before we dive in, I'm just wanting to let you guys know that we are opening VIP days this week. There are only 3 spots available. This is the last time to work with me one-on-one in 2022. So if you are determined and ready to make 2023 a new, fresh, amazing, progressive year in your business, if this is the year that you change everything and you stop settling for mediocrity, you're done feeling scrambled, you're done feeling stressed, you're ready to become a CEO, I highly recommend snagging one of these spots before 2023 so that you can start the year off right. They're application based. They are the last time to work with us. Again, work with me one-on-one this year. And VIP days will also be getting restructured in 2023, which means the pricing is going up. So if you've been thinking about VIP days, I highly recommend getting on one now. They are my favorite. We have had so many people who have just been like incredible and had their business changed in them. Molly McCauley, you guys know I talk about her, and we've had her on the podcast. She's done 3 with me, which has just been my favorite thing in the world. We've gone to work together 3 times on 3 separate VIP days. So I'm so obsessed with VIP days and what they can do for people's businesses. So I'd love to see you in there. Anywho, let's get into it. Let's go. Let's talk Taylor Swift. I wanted to do an episode today on why Taylor Swift is your brand blueprint. And I talked about this a lot on the email list and on Instagram last week when Midnights was released. And I want to say this before you click out because you hate Taylor Swift. If you hate Taylor Swift, that is because each of these brands staples that we're going to talk through have done their job. And so whether you love her or hate her, you should be listening to this because she should still be your brand and business blueprint. I actually myself also used to not like Taylor Swift, and I wouldn't say I love her as much as some people love her. Like, I have 100% been converted to her by my girlfriend, but I didn't like her that much. I thought she was kind of annoying, and that's also kind of because of her brand and how much I read into just like different media / didn't keep up with who she actually is. But the thing with Taylor Swift is she is polarizing. I feel like sometimes there are people who are lukewarm about her, but I feel like a lot of people, they're either obsessed with her, right? Like, she has one of the most dedicated fan bases I have ever seen, ever, or they like really don't like her actively. And each of those polarities exist because she's really, really good at doing her job and really, really good at having a very distinct brand and persona. And so I just kind of like studied her and what she has done in order to make her fans love her so fucking much and make other people hate her so much. And the way people don't like her also just adds to how much people love her. Like, no one's like, oh, I don't like Taylor Swift to someone that loves Taylor Swift and they're gonna just like let it sit there. Like, people who love Taylor Swift will die for her. I swear to God. Like, when I come up with opposing Taylor Swift arguments for my girlfriend, I am scared of her. I'm like, she knows more than me on Taylor Swift, and she also is so passionate that she's like, let me tell you everything that you would need to know in order to change your mind. It's wild. She has the most dedicated fans ever. And so I want to unpack her because she has such a magnetic brand that each of us should be striving for, regardless of what we do in the industry, right? And chances are, I don't think I have a lot of singer-songwriters in my audience. So it's like, we're all going to be learning from a brand that has nothing to do with the business that we're in, and yet it's going to be applicable to whatever it is that you do as a creative. So let's unpack Taylor Swift. Get excited. Because again, whether you love her or hate her, this episode is going to change your life. So I want you to get out a notepad. I want you to get out notes. I highly recommend that this is something like each of these brand pillars and principles that we go over. They are things that I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do some pondering on yourself in your business. Because if you can copy this blueprint of Taylor Swift's brand, your business is going to absolutely explode, guaranteed. So let's unpack the several brand pillars of Taylor Swift and how she has made such a magnetic, whirlwind, insane brand. One, let's just start from the beginning, right? Because we're talking about how polarizing she could be. Taylor Swift does not give a fuck. And by that, I mean, she actually does. And she tells us about it often, right? Like she cares whether you love or hate her. She openly talks and sings about like people not loving her. Like think of Mastermind and her being like, no one wanted to play with me as a little kid, so I've been scheming ever since so that people would love me and make it seem effortless. Like she desperately wants people to like her, but where the doesn't give a fuck comes in, right, is she's gonna keep doing what she's doing whether you hate her or not. Like this girlie has been around since I was in, I don't know, junior high. Like she has been around forever and she has still been doing her thing and been wildly successful whether I loved her or not. Right? Like I used to not like her, and yet I would hear about her and like listen to a couple of her songs. Like You Belong With Me, please. If you were born in the 90s and you grew up in the like early 2000s, you listen to that song. Even if you hate her, you listen to that song. So even though she does care what we think, she shows up and she is her regardless, right? And so where the like doesn't give a fuck comes in, right, is like a lot of times with business owners, we're like, stop caring what other people think, stop caring if people love or hate your brand. It's actually a good thing if they love and hate your brand, if there are people that exist in both polarities. And you're like, well, I don't know how to not care. Okay, keep caring. You can keep caring, but just be dedicated to showing up regardless. Like you can care that they don't like you, but be so determined and passionate that you're like, I'm just going to keep going anyway. Like, I'm just going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to keep being myself, even if they don't love me anymore. She has like come to terms with the fact that people don't like her enough to keep pushing boundaries and keep showing up. And I think that is one of the most amazing things ever, right? Because it's like, it's in our human nature to be upset when people don't like us. I don't really know how to hack that. Some people naturally just do not care at all if people don't like them, but most of us do, right? Like we want people to like us. That's okay. What you need to work on is that you're like, you know what, even if you don't like me and it makes me sad, I'm so dedicated to pushing forward that I'm going to keep pushing these boundaries, and I'm going to keep making the people that don't like me even less. I'm going to keep making the people that love me even more. Like I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it even harder. A good brand should be polarizing. Like if you are liked by everyone, you're probably doing something wrong and you're probably kind of boring. Sorry. Like if everyone likes you, if everyone is attracted to your art, if everyone objectively is like, yeah, that's good, it's probably just like you're not taking enough risks. You're not being yourself enough. Like there's nothing wrong with people not liking you. Have you ever thought of that? Like I have met people whose personalities, I'm like, I don't like that. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. Like you're a great person, I'm sure. You're just like not my person. And that is totally fine. That has nothing to do with you as a human being. It's just, you know, we're not going to vibe, and that's totally fine. So be polarizing and don't care that you're polarizing. Don't care that people don't love you. Don't care that, you know, some people might love you and some people might hate you. In fact, that should be the goal, is that some of them love you and some of them hate you. So number 1, Taylor Swift does not give a fuck. Number 2, and I love talking about this one because we don't talk about it enough, I don't think, is that she shows us the hero's journey. And if you don't know what the hero's journey is, I highly recommend that you look it up. Actually, let me go ahead and read you a description, but do some research on it on your own. But the hero's journey is kind of like a template that people use in books, in stories, even in movies. We see it very clearly in movies like Harry Potter. But it is like a template. I'm reading straight off Wikipedia. Template of stories that involve a hero who goes on an adventure, is victorious in a decisive crisis, and comes home changed or transformed. But what's important about the hero's journey is it's not just this like, we win, we come home, we're a new person. No. So what happens is there's a call to adventure, right? Like there's a problem, they're gonna go solve it, right? Like think Harry Potter again, right? Like finds out he's a wizard. There's a call to adventure. Then there's some sort of aid, like someone comes to help them. Then there's a threshold that they pass, which is where there's like a beginning of transformation. And then there's a helper or a mentor that kind of like helps them as they go through these challenges and temptations, you know, like things are hard to get there. The helper is there again. Then there's like a revelation. There's a death and rebirth. They're like, oh my gosh, here's the answer to the problem, or we figured something out. Then there's a transformation. But then there's like there's often like one more fall and then one more rise, and then they return and they're new and they're like gifted and they're reborn. And so it's just like this template of like rising and falling and like an initiation. There's helpers, you know, there's all of these things. Like you got to think with Taylor Swift, right? Like she gets picked up by Scooter Braun. Scooter Braun ends up being the villain. He screws her over. Like she falls. Kanye comes in. Kanye ends her. She disappears for years. Like she has shown us, like we have seen Taylor Swift fight for her success. We've seen her be publicly humiliated. We've seen her roasted by the media, go into hiding, take revenge, get her heart broken over and over and over again. We've watched her like a hawk, right? As she's gone through this hero's journey where she rises and she falls. Helpers come in, guides, maybe they screw her over. Like maybe someone just like, you know, comes in and is the villain and like ruins things for her. Kanye. We've just watched her move through so many stories. And the reason why humans are so attracted to the hero's journey is because it reminds us of us, right? Like we have watched Taylor Swift go through all of these things because it reminds us of us in some way. We're like, oh, she is we are her. And like, she doesn't even have to say that. We might not even realize that that's what's happening, but that is what's happening. That's why we're called to the hero's journey so much. That's why we love movies where people get tempted and turned and they overcome and then they fall down again and then they come back, you know, they take one step forward, two steps back, three steps forward. Like we love watching stuff like that because we're like, oh, that's what my life feels like, right? Like I see myself in this story. And so she's shown us that very, very openly. And she's taken us through the journey over and over again for more than a decade. And then not only have we watched this through the media, we've also watched this in her releases and her music. And we've gotten to be like, oh my God, like I get a little piece of this. Like I get to see myself in her artistry and in her work in a way that I really relate to because I also go through the hero's journey. And this is where like the power of a personal brand comes in, right? Like, why are you like to us or to Taylor Swift's fans? They love her because she's the expert on a lot of things that they relate to, right? Heartbreak, things not going your way, getting up and trying again, right? Like she's an expert on that. She's shown us that. And so we know that she's an expert in that because she lets us in on this hero's journey, and we've watched this hero's journey. And that's why brand stories and having a personal brand is so important, and being able to be like, hey, I know how it feels to have the problem that you're struggling with, and here's why I'm the expert in order to help you with that. Whether that is like needing a wedding photographer that does something specific, or needing a business coach that does something specific, or someone selling clothing that, you know, fixes a self-image thing that you have with yourself. Like, we're never going to feel more called to you than if you tell us how you also went through that journey. So that is the power of the hero's journey. Let's talk about number 3. She's not scared to fail, and she doesn't hide her failures either. And this one got me some slack online. This one got me some slack with the Swifties. But honestly, can you believe that she released a song as shitty as Endgame? And we still worship her, and I stand by that. That song sucks. I literally listen to the first 20 seconds and then I click out because I think it's horrible. I think it is a horrible song. Let's just sit with that for a second. It's really, really bad. But then she has songs like August, and she has songs like You Belong With Me, right, that we have been listening to since we were 13 years old. She has, you know, basically all of Midnight's is good. I'm not gonna lie, there's only 2 songs on it that I skip. Like I am obsessed with that album. It is actually so good. But like people still follow her religiously. But the reason I mention this, right, is because like Taylor Swift is an example that you should experiment within your business. Like, don't get so stuck on doing the same thing over and over again. Try new things, see what sticks and what doesn't, right? Like, she has obviously evolved a lot, which we're going to talk about in the next one. But like that came from experimentation, and some of them landed, some of them didn't. And that's okay. We still love her, even though Endgame is literally horrible. She is like such an example, right? That like if you have a strong enough brand trust with your audience, people will still rally for you even when you do mess up. And like not just rally a little, rally a lot. Like, I'm not dedicated enough for this, but like Taylor Swift has fans that literally were staying up till midnight for weeks just to learn the names of the tracks. That is wild. And so if you follow this blueprint and you create a brand this magnetizing that people are that attached to, you can create this, stay up till midnight for weeks on end just to learn what the fuck you're doing and what you're creating and what's coming next. And that is so powerful and such a testament to the fact that it doesn't matter if sometimes you fail or you slip up, as long as you have that brand trust there and it's consistent, right? Like 90% of it are wins, even if 10% are kind of whoops, end game vibes, they're still going to rally for you. 4, which kind of, it bleeds in from the last point, but she is her brand. Like Taylor Swift, she is the brand. That's the whole brand. It's just her as a human being. No matter when her products, quote unquote, or services change, right? AKA her genre of music, she's still her. Like it's still Taylor Swift. So she's given us songs like Don't Blame Me or Lover or Cruel Summer or New Romantics or Teardrops on My Guitar. Those are all such different songs. And you've probably heard people talk about, right? Like what even is Taylor Swift's genre of music? And we don't know. It's just Taylor Swift. Like, and we don't care because it's Taylor Swift. Like she is the brand, which has allowed her to genre hop and do whatever the fuck she wants because we are so dedicated to her as a person. She can do whatever she wants because the brand is her. So it's going to stay consistent, right? It's kind of like how I would say that my brand is my brand is the same as it was when I was a photographer as it is now as a coach. Like it shifts a little, but it's just been me the entire time. And so when your brand is you, and that's the thing that's always consistent, you can evolve and grow and shift and change, but the brand will still make sense. Everyone will understand because it's so you, right? Like if people get to see how you're growing and shifting and changing, it totally makes sense when the brand does too, because it's just you. But that is like what she has been such a good example of, right? Like her work has changed so much since, 10, 12, however many years ago it was. Like things have changed so much, and yet it always makes sense just because it's Taylor Swift. Okay, number 5, she has welcomed us into her personal life. And I think what I love about Taylor Swift too, though, is that like she's actually a very private celebrity as far as celebrities go. Like we know a bit about her and her life, but like she also keeps very select things very, very private, which I personally love because she does it in a way where she's so open about certain things that we don't really care that like we don't get access to the other things, right? Like there are things in my life that I will quite literally never share on the internet, but I will talk all day about like my divorce or therapy or mental health because those are the things that I choose to be really, really open about. So she has welcomed us into her life, right? Like we love her cats. We love seeing her wear her heart on her sleeve. We know about the house she bought and how she isn't even letting us into her relationship with Joe. Like they keep that really, really private and we don't care. Like we're like, oh, good for her. That's amazing. Because she's let us know that that's going to be private. She feels like a very real person to us. Like she can feel like someone that you know and are friends with and that you like hang out with because she's so open and does share such deliberate and specific parts of her life with us in such a beautiful, intimate way that it's okay that there are parts that she doesn't let us into, right? Like we still care about her so much. She's not afraid to let us get to know her. And if we knew nothing about Taylor Swift, right? If she was just a singer that we like didn't really know anything about or she didn't really let us into her life, she would not be nearly as powerful as she is. But she's let us be her friend and she's done it for years and years and years and years. And that's why she has people staying up till midnight or 3 a.m. or whatever it may be, sometimes for weeks, in order to just like get a glimpse into her life and her brain, because she feels like a friend. It feels like you're supporting and eagerly waiting for a friend to do something amazing. 6, and this is one of my favorite things about Taylor Swift, because I'm not even into this thing. Like I don't look for it or seek it out, but I've watched people do it and I think it's so cool and I want to figure out how to do it within my own brand. But she gives us clues to keep us involved and eager. And if you're not a Taylor Swift person, you might not know about the Easter eggs. If you are a Taylor Swift person, you absolutely know about the Easter eggs, but let me give you a little rundown. Basically, this genius of a woman has woven like Easter eggs and hints into everything she does and has done it for years, to the point where like there were hints for this album from years and years and years ago. Like it's crazy just like how specific she is and how calculated in a good way she is with these Easter eggs. Like she knows that if she teases her audience and she gets them involved, that they will like find things to obsess over in between launches, right? Like she hasn't launched an album, I don't even know, in a year or two. I don't know. See, I'm not like, I like Taylor Swift, but I'm not that big of a fan. I don't know if it's been like a year or two, but like her fans are obsessing over every single thing she does, every TikTok, every story post, everything for a year or over a year in between album launches, because they're like, what's coming next? When? How can we predict it? Like she lays these Easter eggs in a way where it keeps her audience so involved. And so she's like taking people on a like unpaid branded experience in between her quote unquote launches or like products and services. Like Taylor Swift fans really do. They read into every word, piece of clothing, timing, anything they can do to figure out what's coming next. So I want you to think like, how can I make my audience so eager for what I'm doing next? Like, how can I keep them on this branded journey where they feel so involved, whether there's a product or service like open or launching or anything? Like, how do I keep them so involved with me and so excited with me and so obsessed with my brand and business that it doesn't matter if I haven't launched something in a year. They're still wanting to hear from me and see what I'm doing and see what's going on. 7, and I think every creative can learn from this and needs to learn from this. She takes breaks. She takes time off. She knows that the business and the brand will keep running even if she's not putting out music 24/7. Like, yes, sometimes she goes a year, sometimes she goes years. She goes years, right? She like literally went into hiding for a little bit after the Kanye thing. And she knows that even if she's not constantly showing us and telling us why we should listen to her, we're still going to. Like, she had to disappear, recharge, and re-enter. And she didn't have to show up and constantly be like, hey, listen to my music. Hey, listen to my music. Hey, listen to my music. No, we just did it because we were so dedicated to the brand and to the business and to the products that we had access to. And so she knew that by taking time off, she would come back even better than before. She trusted her audience to binge what they had in the meantime. And amazing brands and businesses know that they don't need to shove their stuff down your throat 24/7 in order to be successful. Amazing brands and their creators take breaks because your brand should be strong enough to survive a break, whether that is a day or a week or a month. If taking a week or month off of your work is going to ruin your business, we got to reevaluate the business because something's going on there. Like if your brand loyalty is so weak that they would forget that you even exist in a month, we've got to work on that first before we work on any marketing or anything like that. Like that is a brand problem. We need more loyalty. We need more trust because you should have a more significant impact than just a month. Thus ends our Taylor Swift dissertation. And I hope that you take some time to go through each of these 7 points and think about how you can bring them into your own business, because each of these points really do, they work together in order to make Taylor Swift as successful as she is. Like, yes, she is incredibly talented. However, she has done her career and her business in such a specific way that we don't really see that often in the music industry specifically, but really a lot of industries. Like she has built such a specific presence that has created just like an unseen, unparalleled brand loyalty. Like, I don't think Harry Styles even has this. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yes, he has like big fans, but like Taylor Swift fans, they are so on it. They are so obsessed. Like, and it is because she does all of these things and she does them consistently and she has done them for years. And I think it's also an example of like playing the long game, right? Like she has been doing this for so long. She didn't get this big overnight. Like, yes, she got big quickly, but like she has been doing this the entire time. And I think that's also something that's really important to know is like, you don't build an amazing brand once you're rich or once you're quote unquote successful. You do it from the beginning and you trust that it is going to pay off eventually. You should be building the business of your dreams before you're earning the money of your dreams. Like, the business of your dreams is different than the income of your dreams. The income of your dreams will come, but you should be running the business of your dreams from the beginning. So thus ends our Taylor Swift dissertation. I would love to hear your guys' favorite parts, your thoughts, what you're changing in your brand. Please come share them on Instagram. I love hearing what you guys take away from the podcast. It is so amazing. I'm obsessed with it. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, leave us a review on the podcast, wherever you listen, whether that's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I love you guys. I mean it. And I will see you next time.